class, welcome back to IEW Fun and Fascinating, and we are on week 8. Today's mission is to continue to write stories using the story sequence questions. And you'll see in a moment how we're going to continue to do that. Quick review. I want you to look and think, what is wrong with the following sentence? Here we have number 1. Hans, who was cold and tired. Hans, who was cold and tired. It doesn't quite sound right, and probably most of you got this. It's not a complete sentence. It's a fragment. We need the rest of the information. Hans, who was cold and tired, wrapped up in a blanket. Hans, who was cold and tired, found shelter in the castle. Something more to complete the thought. Next, sentence 2. Pecos Bill, who could ride any bronco, wanted more excitement. Pecos Bill, who could ride any bronco, wanted more excitement. Now we have a complete thought here. However, I want you to really look closely, even at the punctuation. The who, which clause here needs to be set off by commas. So instead it should say, Pecos Bill, comma, who could ride any bronco, comma, wanted more excitement. And here's just a reminder, the who, which clause, if you took it out completely and we just had Pecos Bill wanted more excitement, it would still be a complete sentence, even if we took out that who, which clause. So that's a good way to test it. However, the who, which clause needs to be set off by commas. So whether it started out, anyway, in this case, we need a comma before it and a comma after it. So that's what was wrong in that sentence. And today, our work comes with Pecos Bill Rides a Tornado. And Pecos Bill is a tall tale. A tall tale is a story that is filled with exaggeration. The two most famous American tall tales are probably Paul Bunyan and Pecos Bill. Paul Bunyan is a giant lumberjack, and Pecos Bill is a cowboy. The story you're going to rewrite in this lesson comes from the adventures of Pecos Bill. So if you'll turn to page 60 in your workbook, you will find Pecos Bill Rides a Tornado. I'd love for you to read along with me now. Just a second to get there. You can always pause these videos if you need another moment. All right, here we go. The Old West was an untamed land. The hills and valleys stretched for miles and miles. Then the desert continued with endless flat, dry land. Scattered throughout the West were the cowboys. They lived a rough, tough life of breaking broncos and driving cattle. The roughest and toughest cowboy of them all was Pecos Bill. There wasn't a bronco alive that could outrun him. He was too fast. Nor could any bronco throw him off. He was too strong and skilled. Pecos Bill was the wonder of the West. Well, one day, Pecos Bill became bored of catching and riding broncos. He wanted to ride something with more spirit. So, he headed to Kansas to catch a tornado. Mind you, not just any tornado. No, sir. He waited for the blackest, windiest, most violent storm to brew. When it did, Pecos Bill was ready. He took out his lasso and roped the twister. He pulled it toward him and got on. What a ride he had! Whooping and hollering, he rode across Kansas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. Higher and higher he rose. He was having the time of his life. Then the tornado suddenly died. This sent Pecos Bill falling fast. Well, that huge, muscular body hit the ground so hard that it left a giant hole. Nowadays, people call this hole the Grand Canyon. Of course, Pecos Bill was not hurt in the least. He just jumped right out and headed back to Texas to tell his tale. He had had great fun. But he knew a tornado couldn't replace a bronco. He knew he had to find the roughest, toughest bronco in the West, one with the spirit of a tornado. So that is our tall tale for the day. And we are going to begin with a keyword outline. Now, increasingly, as the year goes on from here, you will be asked to complete your own keyword outlines. And you'll be directed, kind of like this, in the format that you're going to be asked to outline. For example, in the first paragraph, you're going to answer questions such as, what is the setting? Describe it. Who are the characters? Tell about them, or tell about him. I want to reiterate to y'all and say again that there is no perfect right way to do this keyword outline. I'm going to show you an example and model it for you today. However, if you had been asked to do this keyword outline on your own, you may have keyed in on different words than I did, and that's okay. All right, let's begin. What is the setting is our first question. And for me, I keyed in on Old West, Texas, Untamed. And just to point out, Old West and Untamed were all words that I found in the first paragraph that we read. It wasn't until the last paragraph that we read he went back to Texas. So we're kind of talking about Texas as far as Pecos Bill's setting. So that just to share the background there. Next, we want to describe it. And I drew a little icon for valleys, or have a little icon for hills here. Hills, valleys, desert, endless. Again, I've just got my 3 words, and I'm allowed to use symbols and abbreviations. So I could use one for hills to get a little more information in my keyword outline. And to further describe it, cowboys breaking broncos. The West was filled with cowboys breaking broncos. And just as a reminder, breaking broncos. Can you remember what dress up that is, or decoration? And if you said alliteration, you would be right. Breaking broncos, 2 words, 2 or more words in a row that begin with the same sound. And then we need to tell about our characters. I abbreviated Pecos Bill with PB, and I put roughest, toughest, fastest. I would like to point out here, I meant to say this before I even started on number 1. You are welcome to rewind if you need to. However, I did intend to go ahead and work on through this, but I wanted y'all to be able to pause and fill in your keyword outline as we go here. So you are welcome, or either on each line you can pause, or when we get down to number 5, you can pause and go back and fill it in. So we just did line number 4, telling about our character, Pecos Bill, roughest, toughest, and fastest. And then lastly, telling a little more about Pecos Bill, I put no bronco throw and abbreviated Pecos Bill. So that was my breakdown for setting, characters, and background. And go ahead and pause it if you need to. Moving on to number 2, paragraph number 2 and section number 2, which is the conflict and the plot. We want to answer the questions, what is the problem? What do characters do, say, think, or feel? And what happens before the climax? So first, when I thought of what is the problem, I put Pecos Bill, bored, catching, riding, and I abbreviated Broncos. I really needed that in there, so that's how I abbreviated it. And what did he do? I put travels, Kansas, catch, tornado. Now you could have abbreviated even more and abbreviated Kansas. I just happen to use it as one of my 3 words. So travels, Kansas, catch, tornado. And further on what he did or said, think or felt, I put blackest, I put windiest, but you know what, y'all? Oh no, it was windiest. Blackest, windiest, and I put plus for most violent. And I already know I'm talking about a tornado here, although you could draw a little tornado again here. And then what did he do? He rode the tornado higher, much higher is what all those pluses stand for. And what happens before the climax? Great time across, and I abbreviated, Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. So you can pause it and fill in any lines there to complete your conflict plot section of your keyword outline. Third, the climax and the resolution. We want to answer the questions, what is the climax? What happens as a result? How is the conflict resolved? Is there a theme or a moral? And the climax is that the tornado suddenly died. What happens?
Lucy, what is it?
Sorry. 1 moment.